Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Alex Kurtzman's The Mummy in 2017. Here we are with another Mummy film review, and yes, this time the latest instalment, and this is the first film in the kind of dark universe that's probably still gonna be happening, and they've set up a couple of things there, and yeah, this is panned really across the board, and it grossed quite a lot at the box office, but actually I think I've heard that it's actually it had a lot of losses. So it didn't do great, and critically, of course, no. IMDb even as well, 5 point something, 5.5 maybe, which is very very low. And of course, Tom Cruise is the star, the main star of the show. And yes, I didn't really look forward to this one at all. It never looked good at all. I never went to see it at the cinema, and I only just watched it now for the first time today on Sky. And yeah, I do that with films, especially that I don't want to waste money, going to see them at cinema. And yeah, it's not acclaimed at all, as I say. And I absolutely love Tom Cruise. I'll get that out of the way. One of my maybe 10 favourite actors. Who knows? Very very close, if not in my top 10. And his best performances, I always say, Eyes Wide Shut, Magnolia, absolutely remarkable. And then he's been given many many great performances. Mission Impossible, of course, he's great in that. Absolute legend. And I've never seen, before going into this, I'd never seen a film actually where Tom Cruise gave a bad performance. He's giving ones that aren't, great and mind blowing, like Mission Impossible 3, and he's not. Top Gun, is not the best of films. I'm not a fan of that film, and he's not great in that. But usually, there's never been a case where really I can say he's given a bad performance until now. Yes, very very sad to say. In this film, and I really didn't want to say it, but he did. He did give a pretty bad performance, and I still love Tom Cruise as an actor, but it's a shame. It really is a shame. And this film, Kurtzman's, I've not really. I think he's only done this in another film, and it's not well directed at all. This is as bad as people say, pretty much. Not. I don't imagine it would be one of the 10 worst films of the year, because there's so much crap out there. It's probably worse than this. But I can understand someone like Mark Kermode giving this film, putting it on his top 10 worst of the year of that year. And yes, wasn't looking forward to it, and really it's just as bad as I thought it would be. I recently watched the 1932 Mummy, and I was massively disappointed. I did not like that film. I thought it was bad. This film, I'm not going to say what I think compared to that yet, in terms of the actual score, but it's around that mark. It really is another one that disappoints. And the Brendan Fraser ones, really, I love the first Mummy that he was in, and just think it's really underrated. And Mummy Returns as well. It's not an awful film. And yeah, I've not really seen Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Maybe I've seen it once, but I don't even think I watched it from start to finish. So yeah, this film, Tom Cruise, of course, and Russell Crowe as well, Annabelle Wallis, and of course Sofia Boutella, who stars as the Egyptian kind of mummy. They don't do. There's no Imhotep in this film or anything like that. It's just her. She's the main, villain of the film, and as well, you've got Russell Crowe as kind of, you could say, a villain as well a little bit. But yes, Tom Cruise is this US soldier, Nick, and basically, unintentionally, he sets this chain of events off and unravels this tomb. Now he's got a friend in it as well, and he goes with, Annabelle Wallis as well, and basically they do that together. And then, some of the things that happen very early on is, his friend dies, but then, for the rest of the film, in really, really awful scenes, he's kind of there still, and I think at times Tom Cruise is seeing him. I never really understood what they were trying to go for there, but basically the death could have been done in quite a meaningful way. It happened very early on, but still, they were meant to be friends for loads of years. Tom Cruise did not react really to this death at all, and yeah, they just placed this guy throughout the film. Bizarre scenes that really break the tone. And just basically, he's always showing up, and he's actually injecting most of the humour to this film. No, it's just really bizarre, and it's not funny. It's really, really awful. A lot of the awful modern humour that can be bad for me, that just kind of breaks the tone, and it just ruins any sort of believability. Now this film starts as well, where you see basically, the BBC News and stuff, and that just straight away ruins it as well. It kind of ruins any sort of mystery that could have been achieved, really, and any kind of just kind of legendary kind of film that could have been. You kind of feel, at least at the beginning, like the 1999 Mummy was. It's really amazingly built up, and it was far away from anything like London or anything, and it just I think the way that they just showed this as well, the news, it just made it more generic. And then of course some of the worst just ensemble acting I've seen in a while. It just Tom Cruise. We'll get on to Tom Cruise. I really think I did not want to say this, of course. I think he was nominated for some sort of Raspberry Awards, Razzie Awards, and I maybe believe some of the other cast members were. And I wouldn't go. I would never want Tom Cruise to win that award. And maybe compared to other people that were up for that, I've not really looked into it. I wouldn't have thought he would have been the one to win it. But in this film, he's not good, and that's such a shame. I never thought I'd really say that he's bad, and he is. They're trying to make him, first of all, as well. One of the issues, play this kind of young, energetic guy, and that can work, of course. But it doesn't quite work here. It just seems off, and as well, it just very, very self-aware, and it's like it kind of it just threw out all his experience, out the window. Really, really unfortunate. And I do not like to say this at all. It really pains me to say this. But a bad performance, and just really every reaction that he gives throughout the film is really. It's off-putting, it's a distracting performance at times, actually, and Russell Crowe, of course, is not great in the film, but Tom Cruise is really the worst performance in the film. That's a real shame. It may be, Annabelle Wallis, you could say she's just as bad because she's more bland than anyone, but the performance by Tom Cruise, very, very disappointing, and the character, that they kind of. First, the writing is awful, and one of the writers was Chris McQuarrie, Mission Impossible Fallout, Rogue Nation, and Tom Cruise, of course, was in them films. And the writing in this film is terrible. It's just absolutely awful. It's so generic as well, and all the comedy lines just do not work. There's not really any. I can't really remember any of the lines, really, to be honest. Very forgettable script. And just characters that are not well written at all, and just certain situations, scenarios that play out and just do not work. And yeah, it's just a real shame. I really think it's just an awful start to this kind of universe they're gonna maybe go ahead with. I'm not sure. But yeah, basically, the first half an hour, it is pretty bad, and there's some lower dips as well, throughout the film. And then the ending parts, maybe they pick up a little bit, but it evens out to a nice kind of rating that I know what it is now. But it's, it really is just such a lackluster film. It is quite soulless. I think the direction is pretty poor. This story, that it's trying to tell, it's just not compelling, really at all. And just really, really boring. That's one of the things about this film. Very, very boring film, and just lacks the energy that is required of this film. Just think to the Brendan Fraser one. Just full of energy, really, for me anyway. I absolutely love that film, and it's just so fun. This film is not fun. Most of the time, it is in dark locations as well, which doesn't help because it when I say dark, it really just is poorly lit and just washed out kind of colour tones you don't really use, and there are some scenes in the desert, of course, but really this doesn't have the adventure kind of feel either, that is really, really, of course, prevalent in the 1999 one, and it just doesn't have the charm, the wit at all. The characters in this film are all awful, really, very forgettable, bland, and just not compelling at all, and the comedy, as I've said, does not land throughout this film. There's really no comedy that works. unintentional, you know, from Russell Crowe. Actually, really, he plays Dr. Jekyll. Yeah, they had him in this film. So they probably, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a film, you know, a standalone film involving that at some point. Who knows if this actually if they go through with it. But yeah, you know, don't look forward to that. And Russell Crowe, you know, he adds loads of humour because it's unintentionally, you know, because of the performance. Very, very campy, you know, really, really campy. And yes, it is enjoyable at times just to see that. But Russell Crowe, you know, he's given some performances that aren't great. You know, Les Miserables, and you know, a couple more. You know, not great. But Gladiator, you know, he is, of course, it's a good performance, no doubt. There's no denying that. A Beautiful Mind, for me, he gives one of the best performances of the century. He is wonderful in that film. And of course, The Nice Guys, you know, he's been in some great stuff, and he really is overall a great actor. I really love Russell Crowe, you know, when he's on form. But here, not good. I suppose mainly to do with writing, because it is really, really just stupid. And that's what I'd call this film, just dumb. You know, it really is. Some of the stuff that is just, you know, the most stupid is that guy that always shows up. You know, kind of, it's kind of like American Werewolf in London. You know, when you know Jack kind of shows up and speaks to David, but if you'd made that really, really awful, and it does not work here at all. And just it just takes away as well from that what could have been maybe an emotional moment with his death. It just really ruins it. And yeah, you know, the actual mummy design in this film I will praise. Actually, you know, it's not too bad, and you know there is some bad CGI in the film, but not, you know, not as bad as a lot of you know, modern blockbusters. You know, it's not too bad considering, but it, you know, it has got its moments. The actual creature design is not bad, you know, of this mummy, and you know, some of the stuff that, you know, she kind of, how she recruits different you know, people and changes them. You know, it's not bad, and you know, just in terms of it has got maybe some horror elements to merit. I will say that, you know, some sort of creepiness and tension, but mainly throughout the film there's not much tension at all. It is, you know, melodramatic as well, with the kind of relationship that goes on with Tom Cruise and Annabelle Wallis, the characters they play, and yeah, it drags a lot. You know, it really just plods along, and you know, it just does not have a flow, and it's just not compelling. You know, I don't think there was any real atmosphere. You know, it wasn't built up well at all, really. The action, I will pray. There's a couple of set pieces that aren't too bad, but you know, in the middle of the film, you know, when it's in the dark locations and stuff, the action is really, really not good at all. Bit of a disaster, really, and not well edited for the most part. Now, as well, you know, what they do as well with Tom Cruise's character at the end, you know, of Nick, is bizarre to say the least. Yeah, fair enough, that could have worked, but how it's executed here, not good at all. And just really, really weird. It just does not work. And then there's a bit where, of course, he's CGI'd as well at one point, and it's really, which is awful. I really did not like the character that he played in this film. Just not a likable character. You know, Tom Cruise as well. He's not. You know, if you love Tom Cruise, you know, you will not be seeing Tom Cruise, you know, in this film. Really, he's not like he usually is. He's not got the charisma. You know, really, he's not got the likability, and just the control. Really, it's a performance that is very uneven, and it's just very bizarre. And yeah. There's not much more to say. You know, I really did not like this film at all. You could say at times I hated it, and you know, I think I will say it's ever so slightly better than the 1932 one, but that is not praise. You know, it's pretty much on the level. You know, there's no way it's quite as boring as that film, and dead, really. But it's, you know, it's got flaws that are worse. You know, but overall, you know, I think this is definitely a bad film, and it's almost very, very bad. But there's some things, you know, just a couple of things here and there that I will praise, of course, as I already have. Some of the action, you know, is not bad. There's one bit that was pretty good actually in the bus. You know, as well, some of the creature designs, and just a couple bits here and there, the actual horror elements. You know, it's not bad. It's not bad, and you know, there's not much more to say. But that's the only things I can praise really. I'd have to give this film a 32%, and that is low for me. Yes, you know, not quite as I'm probably not going to say it's one of the worst films of that year, because there's just so much crap that comes out, especially now. And yeah, you know, but I can understand definitely. You know, it is a bad film, and the writing, the direction is just all over the place and just not memorable at all. The editing is not great at all. I really just did not care for the actual story of what was going on between Tom Cruise's character of Nick and the actual mummy. You know, of course, they were trying to kind of go on for what happened in the Brendan Fraser one a little bit, but it just did not work here at all. And then, of course, you've got the kind of relationship with him and Annabelle Wallis, and that did not work at all. You know, very, very uncomfortable, cringy stuff. The romance just did not work at all. You know, this film fails on pretty much every level, apart from, you know, some of the action, you know, mainly outdoors action that's in it. You know, the ending shots are actually quite good. You know, I would have been feeling, you know, if this had actually been a really good film up until that point, because it's kind of a good way something, you know, plays out. You could say it's kind of epic, but you know, and that would have been really good if I actually cared for that character. But I'm not going to get into that because that's spoilers. But yeah, no, this is such a disappointment. A bad film for sure. As I say, you know, the writing is just awful. Russell Crowe, he had some enjoyability, but really not good in this film. And the mummy, you know, the performance of the mummy, you know, not great at all. I would not say awful. You know, and there's a couple of moments where it's not bad, but just you know, very, very you know, forgettable, and not much charisma. And this is very, very dark in all the wrong ways, this film, and it's just a lot of the time it's just poorly lit. The cinematography is not great in this film really, apart from some of the shots in a desert, and it just lacks the energy, the drive, you know, and the tension really. Throughout, and you know, the characters are not compelling at all. You know, really, really forgettable, and it just moves, you know, moves along just yeah, very uninspiring ways. You know, it just drags on from scene to scene without any sort of momentum, as I say, and just did not care really for this film at all. It's a bad film. It's not completely dreadful, but it is bad from me. And I liked it slightly better than the 1932 one, but again, that is not praise at all, because I hated that one, and I pretty much hated this one as well. So yeah, there's my review. Not a great film at all. Would not recommend it, you know. And yeah, you know, the critics and everyone, you know, they are on the kind of right path. Sorry, you know, it is a disaster really, and yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's going to be any more. You know, in this kind of vein, this kind of universe, and that whole universe, you know, I just don't know where they're going to go with that. No, not a great start. Who knows? They might make some decent films out of it, but it's kind of universal thing that they're bringing back. But I don't think it's going to work, to be honest. And yeah, the fact that Tom Cruise is not amazing, or at least likable in this film, I just don't know what happened. And at times, you know, what went on with him seeing that guy as well and stuff, and some of the moments where, bizarre moments, you know, where he's seeing different things. I was just thinking, is this a joke? It really was bad stuff. And yeah. So yeah, thanks for watching my review.